Nobody bakes a cake as tasty as a tasty cake.
Tasty Cakes. They're marching everywhere. To the counter at the convenience store, onto the shelf at the nearby supermarket, to the front of the line in vending machines, and of course, into lunch boxes everywhere. Tasty Cakes were first baked in Philadelphia in 1914, when President Woodrow Wilson was in the White House. Over the years, they've become a great taste tradition in Philadelphia and far beyond, as they're enjoyed at breakfast, lunch, and snack time. From now on, every time you unwrap a Tasty Cake, you'll bite into it in a whole different way. Why? Because you're about to go on a special visit to the bigger-than-life bakery, where Tasty Cakes are baked fresh daily. It is truly a magical place, and you'll journey behind the scenes to see how Tasty Cakes are made. And you'll meet some of the hundreds of men and women who actually make or bake the delicious magic into every Tasty Cake. You'll get so close, you can almost touch and taste the Tasty Cakes. And we'll even show you how we get the jelly in the jelly crimpets. And that's trickier than pulling a rabbit out of a hat. But first, this is our bakery, still located in Philadelphia after all these years. And still the place where we bake our famous cakes, cookies, pies, donuts, and other goodies that carry our bakery fresh stamp of approval. Actually, we bake our products just about the way Mom or Dad bakes in your kitchen. We just make more of them. Lots more. Imagine, every day we bake 3.5 million cakes, pies, and cookies. 3.5 million is a very big number. How big? Well, if you could eat one Tasty Cake every minute of every hour and never stop, not even to sleep, it would take you more than 6.5 years to eat all the Tasty Cakes we bake in just one day. Of course, you'd be very tired and might even have a little stomachache. Now, while Mom and Dad may bake alone in the kitchen, with a little help from you to lick the mixing bowls, here at Tasty Cake we have lots of helpers. More than 1,000 of them working as a team to get those cakes and pies and other treats to you as fast and as fresh as possible. Our bakery is 6 stories tall, and there is exciting activity on every floor. And here, the lights are hardly ever out, because running a Tasty Cake-sized bakery is an around-the-clock operation. Every person has a special job to do. Put them all together, and you have one of America's largest and finest bakeries. Now, some of our men and women are doing jobs you might not think of when you think of a bakery. Sure, there are people who handle the mixing, and those that spread the icing, and all kinds of other folks with baking-related jobs. But we also have our own food scientists, computer operators, accountants, salespeople, and even forklift operators. They're all part of the Tasty Cake team. They're like one big family working together. In fact, for many of our employees, working here is a family tradition.
I'm proud to follow my grandmother's footsteps as a Tasty Cake employee. And it's great to know that I'm helping to bake a product that everybody loves.
Our people are our finest ingredient in running the bakery. And our hundreds of actual baking ingredients are the finest around too. And we use lots of them. So many, they're delivered daily by the truck and train load. For example, we use 35 tons of flour, a basic baking building block, every single day. How much flour is that? Well, if we bought it in those 5-pound bags you see at the supermarket, that would add up to 14,000 sacks of flour. And butter. Do we ever use butter? Over 2,000 pounds a day. So much butter that if we bought it in quarter-pound sticks, the kind on your table at home, and they were laid end to end, the butter line would stretch a full mile, a very slippery mile. And flour and butter are just the beginning. Don't forget the milk, the eggs, sugar, chocolate, spices, peanut butter, apples, lemons, cherries, blueberries, peaches. And that's just for starters. No wonder our cupboard covers an entire floor. We use so many ingredients that some people do nothing but check to make sure that everything is fresh and pure. They work in our test kitchen and scientific laboratory.
We run tests to make sure that everything tastes good and is as fresh as possible, so you know that by the time Tasty Cakes are delivered, they've passed the highest quality standards.
Once the ingredients are okayed, we begin to mix them together the same way you would at home, only we use much bigger mixers. The ingredients are brought together for mixing on one floor, then combined for the actual baking on another floor. Here, we're making the batter for the spongy crimpets. Once ready, it will be moved to the ovens on the floor above. 20 minutes after the mixing begins, the crimpets will have been baked, wrapped, and ready to be delivered. Over here, the batter in this big steel kettle will be turned into thousands of creamy chocolate cupcakes. Chocolate cupcakes are so popular that we bake 1 million of them every day. And this is a specially air-conditioned room where we mix the dough for our pies. Apple, cherry, blueberry, or any one of our varieties. These pie dough mixers act like giant hands, kneading and folding the dough until it's ready for baking. Once the pie dough is ready, it is fed into another machine down below. And this special machine squishes the dough flat like a giant rolling pin. The pie filling, right now it's red juicy cherries, also starts here and flows through another chute for final preparation and baking. We'll get back to the pies in a moment, but first, there's some cleaning up to be done. We spend as much time cleaning up as we actually do baking. At Tasty Cake, everything is scrubbed till it's spotless. Now, we better check on those crimpets. Here, the batter is being poured into the specially shaped curvy crimpet baking molds. And they begin their long march through the 130-foot-long oven. That is almost half a football field long. By the time they reach the other end, in just 8.5 minutes, they're baked to golden perfection, ready to travel back in the opposite direction to receive their icing or jelly. The thick icing that coats the cakes flows on in a constant stream. And instead of being sliced with a regular knife, the icing is separated by a special cutting device called an air knife that cuts using a puff of air. Now, about the jelly crimpets. Oh, well, they're not quite ready yet, so we'll have to stop back after we take a look at our wrapping operation. Wrapping used to be done by hand, but today it's all done in the blink of an eye by machines, operated by skilled workers and inspected by professionals like Rose. She's been working at Tasty Cake a long time, and her job is to make sure every cake is perfect before it's delivered.
I am a tough judge. If the crimpets aren't just right, I won't approve them. I have an important job, too. I am the last inspector before they get packed and delivered.
And just look at how we make these chocolate-enrobed peanut butter candy cakes. Machines are responsible for a big part of the magic. After they're baked, the candy cakes take a ride to get their chocolate coating. And then, never stopping, they head for the wrapping machine. With all this fancy machinery, we can't afford a mechanical breakdown. So we have lots of specially trained mechanics on hand to take care of our machines.
We take great care to prevent problems from happening. A lot of our equipment was made just for us.
And now would be a good time to catch up with the Tasty Cake pies. That dough we saw being mixed and flattened would make one very big pie. But to make an individual pie, we have a machine that gently presses the dough down into the baking pans, and then the filling is added. Then comes the top crust, and the machine cuts the dough into the easy-to-hold, rectangular-shaped pies we've been baking since the 1930s. The pies cool in a giant cooling room, going round and round on a series of trays. 250,000 of them are made this way every day. Once cooled, they leave the chilly tower and are boxed, then wrapped. Our pies have been around a long time, while our donuts are relative newcomers in our family of products. And now we bake more than 1 million of them each day. Since tastes change, we're always coming up with new products. We bake what people like to eat. And one way we find out is to have taste testings. Sometimes we even have boys and girls help out.
Cakes, you're going to be tasting crimpets and buttercreams and peanut butter candy cakes and chocolate cups. And you're going to tell me how much you like the Tastykakes. What you're going to do is mark down on your sheet if you like the flavor or the texture. And then we'll talk about how much you like it. Why don't you now take a bite of your cake and start.
An old favorite or a new item, every product has to pass our taste test. We all take tests. Yours are in school, and ours are in the bakery. And once the products pass the various tests, they can be delivered. When the company first started, just one person in a horse-drawn wagon delivered our cakes to Philadelphians. Today, more than 500 men and women start their day before the sun comes up to deliver their truckloads of Tastykakes. They're much more than truck drivers. They are route owner-operators.
I have a big responsibility. I make sure that my customers are always stocked with fresh Tastykakes. And I'm proud whenever I see someone enjoying one of our products.
From dough to the supermarket door, that's the story of Tastykakes. The story of the magical and monumental effort to make millions of treats and deliver them as fresh as when they leave our bakery. Well, not quite the whole story. You're right. I forgot the jelly crimpets. Okay, see these little injectors? They push down into the crimpets and fill them with the jelly. Now here's a little secret. We use the same type machine to fill the cream-filled cupcakes. Now you know everything. And the next time you have a Tastykake, you'll know why we say with pride that nobody bakes a cake as tasty as a Tastykake.